Hello, my name is Debbie Reynolds. They call me the Data Diva. Today I want to talk about data privacy and an app called Forewarn. So Forewarn is an app that's made for realtors, people who sell or show houses and apartments for leasing. And what this Forewarn app claims to do is if you put in someone's phone number, they can basically pull back information like, what's their financial situation, what is their employment history, property history, criminal background information, lawsuits, different things like that. This app has been gaining more popularity in the realty space. Some realtors feel like it gives them more insight into the type of people that are looking for properties. Regulators are very concerned for a couple of reasons. One is some of these companies state that they are not credit reporting agencies, but they are providing information in ways that could possibly, for example, maybe a realtor decides they don't want to show someone a house because they think they had a foreclosure or a bankruptcy or something like that. It is not, they don't make any claims about the accuracy or the types of validation that has to happen with companies that are credit reporting agencies. There are certain rules that have to happen, but these types of companies and data brokers kind of play in that gray space. People are concerned, and actually I think there was a lawsuit against one of the owner companies or one of the associated companies with this particular app where they said that someone had this criminal record, and basically it was a person with the same name, but they didn't have the same picture. They weren't from the same location. So there's actually a lawsuit about that. So the concern is that these companies who really aren't operating in a way where, for example, let's say if you have a credit report, there will be some type of notice or notification. You have to sign off on it. You have to agree to it. There will be certain information that you will be provided. For example, let's say if you were denied credit or different things like that that aren't happening with these particular apps. I think the concern is that a lot of these companies, because they play in those gray spaces and they're not necessarily considered credit reporting agencies, they just don't have the same level. They don't have to have the same level of visibility to the person who's actually using those apps. These checks aren't exactly accurate. Just because you have someone's phone number, that doesn't mean that that's the data that you have on that person, right? So I think that there has to be a lot more transparency around how these apps are operating, and definitely I think regulators are very interested to see how this data is used, especially if they're doing things around housing or things that can be considered discriminatory in nature and is not transparent to the individual when they're calling to either look at a house or rent an apartment, that somehow some data is being transmitted about them that they're not aware of, and they have no way to check or actually correct any inaccuracies in those types of things. So it really remains to be seen how this particular app or app like it will continue to operate in that way, especially if they're not providing that level of transparency to people. I think from a privacy perspective in the US, we're always concerned about companies really playing in those gray spaces where it really, they may not be able to latch on to one regulation or another, but they're just kind of presenting claims and doing it in a way that's not transparent and may be unfair or even discriminatory towards people who are actually just looking for housing. That's it. Thank you.